My socks are on.
Socks are on.
Socks really aren't necessary for a home podcast though, but
it keeps your toes warm.
Keeps my toes warm, and when I go to fold my legs on the couch, people don't have to see my hairy toes on the YouTube version.
Oh man, we're even just still setting up the microphones. How do we sound?
We sound great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 19 now of the Look Mum I'm Hustling podcast.
I'm amazed.
We say it every week.
I know.
It's amazing that we're still alive to begin with.
Yeah.
Amazing. The internet's still working, and amazing that we still showed up. We have something to talk about.
It's like I thought we would run out of ideas, but hey, we're still going on, which is awesome.
Oh, it's I think we're getting the hang of it. We're getting the hang of finding new topics, not trying to pigeonhole ourselves too much. So it's been nice to sort of talk about different things.
Yeah.
Talked about crypto so far, traveling, reselling. What else have we talked about?
I think we talked about food. In the beginning, we're trying to give a little bit more info like around being sustainable as well. Had a couple of cool guests on so far. So we've had Chris and Bianca, which has been mad.
We did a couple of reviews, which is something we're going to do. We've been talking about doing more of going forward. So we're thinking of doing maybe a monthly book review. I guess like a book club.
Yeah.
In essence.
Look Mum Book Club.
Look Mum Book Club.
Look Mum Book Club.
That's a
bit of a mouthful,
actually.
It's
a mouthful. It's not really, doesn't come off the tongue too easily.
No, it doesn't feel very smooth. It feels quite clunky.
Look Mum Book Club.
Look Mum Book Club. Look Mum, I'm reading.
We used to have this reading class in school. You know, you used to have those lessons to encourage kids to read.
Scholastic style stuff, yeah.
So we had, our one was called like Ribbit. I'm pretty sure you just had like a booklet to fill in the books that you were reading and just like a notebook to keep up to date, make sure the students were reading all their requirements or whatever.
Was the mascot a frog?
It was a frog.
Yeah, Ribbit.
But I'll let you guess what Ribbit stands for.
Oh, Ribbit?
Ribbit. R-I-B-B-I-T.
Okay.
Oh, no, R-I-B-I-T.
Reading
Yep.
in
Yep.
regional.
No, it's Ribbit. R-I-B-I-T.
Reading in books.
No.
Reading in the.
Where would you read at home as a kid after school?
Reading in bed.
Yeah.
Reading in bed.
Yeah.
In.
Close. Very close. Come on, this is like very boring for the listeners.
Reading in bed
is tea.
Terrific.
How the hell did you know that? Really?
What? I didn't get any clues whatsoever.
No, really? Like, did I ever told you that before?
No.
That's wild. Reading in bed is terrific. So you're like, oh yeah, it is terrific. Let me fill in my booklet.
Yeah.
I never read any.
Well, there's not many positive like good, great kind of like T words. So
true.
Yeah, it's very.
I'm surprised that you got that.
I have my moments. My brain does work sometimes, which is, handy when it comes to these occasions and guessing what Ribbit stands for.
Well, speaking of reading, we weren't actually intending to have this segue at all, but based on today's episode, it's a perfect little segue. I've just ruined the segue by saying segue twice, but it is what it is. Today's episode, we're talking about Y: The Last Man, the comic book, and now the newly released TV series that we've just started watching, Y: The Last Man.
Why?
It's a comic book or a graphic novel that I bought a bunch of them. I want to say like the first 4, 5 or 6 like volumes.
Yeah.
And read through, and I was like pretty interested in comics at the time, and sort of uni took over and I didn't have that much time to pursue and like read or even continue that series, but I always loved the series. Quite interesting concept of, we'll get into it, but basically there's a plague and all the men die.
Yeah, so everybody with the Y chromosome, but I was the same. I didn't think I had as many. Oh, you're right.
Spill my water.
You spill these
water
everywhere.
Up too much.
Sorry. You're right. All right, we'll keep going. I also had a few, not as many. I think I had the first 4 volumes, and then when we moved in together, we're like, oh, I've got a couple of double ups.
Did we have doubles and just sell them all on eBay?
Yeah,
Jesus.
we did. Yeah, so we had a few, and then we ended up just like selling the doubles.
Because we have some in there. That's where all our novels are, right? At the moment, and we have like you have Preacher and
Transmetropolitan. Yeah, Transmetropolitan, which is another mad sci-fi sort of one.
But we got rid of the Y: The Last Man. Okay, yeah.
No, we kept some of those, but we did a bit of a cull and just like kept our really, really good favorite ones. But also had it, and I thought it was really interesting because, like you said, every mammal with the Y chromosome died.
Sorry.
No, it was every mammal. So dogs, all
Insects?
the animals.
Whales are a mammal.
Probably whales as well, but insects aren't mammals, so yeah.
So we have to dive into this more, yep.
We do, yeah. And that means only females were left over, which is pretty interesting for...
So double X's.
Yeah, double X's.
Yeah.
Which is really, really interesting if you think about it, because all of a sudden, all these males died, like out of nowhere kind of thing. And then so many females died because of that as well, because you had pilots, you had people operating buses, like all that kind of thing. So it wasn't initially, yes, all the men died, but like so much of the whole entire population died as well, which is pretty full on.
Yeah, so let's set the scene for. So it's called Why the Last Man. It's based around the main protagonist,
Yorick.
Yep.
Wyatt
Yorick, a bit of a weird name, and his little capuchin monkey ampersand.
Ampersands, yeah. So that's such a cute name because it looks like the ampersand looks like a monkey, which is very adorable.
So basically, he's the only surviving, or I guess at this point, known male survivor.
Yeah.
And like you said, the start of the comic and the start of the show is sort of setting the scene around before the plague happens. Essentially, like we said, all men or all male mammals just sort of die suddenly. They have blood pouring out of their nose and everything like that.
It's almost like they melted from the inside. That's what it looked like.
And it happens pretty much instantaneous.
Across the globe.
And it's pretty graphic in the novel, which is like, there's, you think about the impact of that. There's like 8 or 9 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
Half of them die, and then obviously more like women die as a result of being a casualty. Like you said, if a man's driving a plane or a bus or something, like there's other consequences. But to have everyone sort of, half the population die all of a sudden is pretty crazy. Then seeing it on a live action version was pretty wild and confronting. Yeah,
they didn't really hold back. And with the comic book, it's by Vertigo, who are pretty independent. So they, that's pretty graphic and full on. I mean, that's probably why they're called graphic novels. But seeing it in the but seeing it in the TV version, they didn't there was just like blood pouring out of their eyes, their ears, all that kind of thing. And it just sort of, they all just collapsed. And then you could just see all of a sudden these women realizing when they stood up, they're like, where it's all women.
It's crazy, to see. You can put yourself in the situation, hopefully not, but you're like, oh, this person has just dropped dead and they're bleeding out of their nose. Then you turn around and there's another 12 guys there, and then everyone's freaking out. And then after 5 or 10 minutes, you move to a different room or a different location, look outside or whatever, and there's more, and you're like, something's going on. And then you realize slowly, it's just women left. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Oh, it would be so confronting, and it would be your brother, your father, your son, if you had kids, it's...
And I didn't even realize this until researching a bit more. Newborn, unborn babies as well.
Yeah, and apparently sperm, yeah. So even embryos that were designated male, they all died as well.
Okay. And I can't really remember the story too much.
By the way, spoilers.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
Spoiler alert. We probably should have started off with that. We'll put that in the description later on.
You find all this out in the first episode anyway.
You do.
The first,
probably in the trailer book, even. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. You ruined me.
I'm so sorry. You said so as the women slowly realised that the last one's there.
I can't really remember too much more further on in the novels because I didn't get that far. So I've only watched the first 3 episodes that are out. So that's sort of where we're up to. Potentially do a recap in a couple of months' time when all the episodes are released, and perhaps we've read the story in its entirety and we do a follow-up. But it's pretty crazy. I hadn't realised there would be miscarriages as well, because it's all based around the Y chromosome and no one really knows what's going on. I don't think the authors released too much in terms of what caused the plague or anything like that. It's all a huge mystery. But the cool part and what the story is based around is the consequence of that fallout in terms of government, medicine, schools, children. There's so many repercussions. That's sort of something we want to just, I guess, dive into.
Yeah, 100%. Because with a lot of those industrialized fields, so whether it's the engineers that work in, the energy departments and all that kind of stuff to keep, the electricity running, they're very male-dominated areas. There's very, very few females working in those either high like CEO roles, whether it's, you know, like I said, engineering, mechanics, all that kind of thing, even politics. Like it's so male dominated that when they're gone, you realize that there's not like a lack of knowledge, but like a skill set. There's definitely a huge gap in skill set.
Yeah. And it's like a matter of how fast they can recognize that and like combat it and put people or make people aware of that and learn about it. You know what I mean? Like if there's a huge gap in knowledge and there's no scientists for a particular field all of a sudden, then you've got big problems.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of the times, whether it's, you know, like people that do physics, I'm just like generalizing here, but even in something as like a senator's room or a politician room, you could look around the table and be the only female in there. And then imagine half the population going and everything's on your shoulders.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my only perspective is really from Yorik's point of view. Like, obviously, I can put myself in the shoes of different females in the show, but I, like, as a male, you have to put yourself in that position and be like, what does this mean for me? Which is crazy to think about. Because at that point, if you've got half the population gone, you've got one male and 4 billion females, you really don't have any control over your life at all anymore. Like, all the decisions are going to be made for you. You're going to be basically treated like I don't know, like a guinea pig or like a commodity.
It'd be two things. Yeah, you'd either be hunted down and killed because, like, you know, you're different. You know, no one knows what, you know, because people fear the unknown.
Or you're revered.
Yeah, or you're revered, or you want to be, like you said, studied like a specimen.
Sperm king.
Yeah, sperm king. Well, that was like the whole thing, and I think in the first episode was like someone was like, we've got to save the sperm banks, like, because, you know, with those sperm banks, obviously you have,
genetic pool, How do you feel as a female? Like, first of all, it's really cool that it's got developed into a TV show. I don't think there's many other all-female or 99.9% female-led shows other than Orange is the New Black, probably.
There's a few out there, definitely not as many as male-dominated shows. Like, that's just a given, like most things. It is, over the last couple of years, you know, probably like spanning the Me Too and all that kind of thing, like women's inequality has become a lot more, I guess, vocal now and a lot more seen, and everyone's making a little bit more of a larger effort to have that diversity and to have that sort of inclusion. But sort of seeing that in Why the Last Man, I think when I first read the comic a couple of years ago, was quite confronting. I was like, wow, like it really is, you know, such a male-dominated area, or, you know, there's really like this gap between men and women. But sort of seeing the TV show, I wasn't as confronted because probably in the last, like, as I grow older as a woman and like as an adult, I see like what?
Nothing.
I see the differences, and it's not as surprising, but you can see everyone's trying to make a little bit more of a conscious effort to have more women around.
Yeah. Another interesting aspect that they included, I'm not sure how much they added it into the comics, was the transgender component.
Oh, yeah.
Something you wouldn't really consider, but again, it's in this day and age, in social media and social justice, like having something like that represented, probably a big deal for a lot of people, and should be. So what was the story there? Like, obviously there were women that were transitioned into men, so they didn't actually die because they never had the actual Y chromosome, and they were potentially going to be targeted because they were taking testosterone, and they're essentially trying to be men, but men had been, well, they suffered the wrath of the plague. Yeah.
So I think that was probably one of the, in the show. And one thing that was sort of worried about with some of those people that were transitioning or something like that was in the medical field, that people make testosterone and all that kind of stuff. Again, very male dominated. So, and because the world is crumbling and collapsing, they're like running low on having like to be able to be the person that they want to be.
Take enough of the hormones to like get where they want to be in terms of their actual transition.
Yeah, be the person that they're meant to be and all that kind of thing. And that was like another fear, I think, in that episode that they had was, you know, when I come out and when I leave, I have to explain to everybody again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not male.
Yeah.
Like, especially if there's only one like true male in the story and you got a lot of explaining to do. Again, if people think you're male, you might be revered or you might be
hunted.
So that was their problem even though they were, I guess, genetically had 2X chromosomes.
Yeah, but they were really, really male, and then having to explain that to people, be like, this is who I really am as a person. Yeah. Like
everything, like you think about every aspect of life in the show, like the government is like, how do you even start to put together a government? Then you have different countries and how different countries, like you pretty much only see it from the US perspective.
Yeah.
I think they touch on a few other
countries in the comics.
Yeah. But imagine what happens at a smaller scale in a smaller country or small island, Pacific Islands country or something like that. Like, what happens? It's crazy.
Yeah, because pretty full on. And even in the show, just like cleaning up the bodies, they were struggling to find the resources to do that sort of manual labor as well.
What is a good way to clean up a body, though?
Well, I guess you just need a lot of tarp, right?
Tarp and acid, some sort of hydrochloric acid.
Like Breaking Bad style?
Yeah.
Like get rid of bodies that way?
I think you need to feed the body to like a gator. A female gator.
Yeah.
Well, gators aren't mammals, so they might have survived. Feed it to a gator, so like most of the meat's chomped down.
Yeah.
And then wait for the gator to poop it out, the bones.
Poop out the bones, because that's how it works.
Run the bones through acid, yeah.
Yeah. Is that how you would like to see your loved ones taken care of?
Well, I'm thinking a large scale here.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
There is no good way when you're in apocalypse, because your main thing that you would need to do, or to make sure, and especially if you're in a position of, I guess, power, is like food, water, shelter. Yeah, like the three main things.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, exactly. But
do you know what that is?
No.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Got this?
Triangle, so Illuminati. Oh.
It's a psychology thing, I think. Just it's a triangle, like a pyramid of like what needs need to be met.
Yeah.
In order for human fulfillment. So at the base level, you have food, water, shelter. As you go up, it's like career, family, stuff that's not necessarily going to keep you alive, but as an additional thing to like keep
an
you fulfilled in
essential
life.
To be a person. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, food, water, shelter is obviously at the bottom.
Well, that's the main like survival thing that you need. But imagine like people in those factories that make running water. They're not there anymore.
They're running water.
No, so you could obviously like...
they create the machinery to make running water.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like plumbing, the pumps and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like imagine the people that operated those, what are they called, facilities? Like, you know, the electricity facilities and stuff. Yeah, people that run those areas, they're not there anymore. So you're not going to have electricity, you're not going to have water, or it would take a while to get that because your resources are so limited because you have like maybe 10 women that can do it.
What fields benefit from this? Just out of curiosity, like what's a female-led field that would benefit from having less, not necessarily benefit, but wouldn't crumble, wouldn't be like severely handicapped? Like there'd be so many nurses available, not necessarily specialized doctors, but plenty of like nurses on hand.
Well, that's, and this is, I feel like I should know this answer a little bit more, but obviously in the medical field, the carers field as well is very female dominated. I think the teacher field as well is quite female. Childcare, all that kind of area. But if you think about it, like no one's having babies anytime soon. So a lot of the midwives would be out.
What do you do on a household level? So let's say this happens, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's happening in the show. Let's just rewrite the show for them.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal of humanity at that point is what? If you found one male and everyone else is female, the ultimate goal of humanity is to
repopulate.
Mm-hmm. If there's only one person, how do you repopulate? You find the sperm bank, like that they have started in the show. They haven't really explored it too much. But yeah, trying to find that. But like, who's in control of that? The government.
It would be the government of that country, like the power of that country.
But there'll be different in-groups potentially splitting off that want to create their own race, perhaps. Get different types of semen from different from different nationalities, different races, and then create their own race, which is pretty pretty crazy, but that's the government level. At like a lower level, like you're sitting around with your girlfriends and all the dudes are dead. Like, what do you do? Like, you have no control, and all you're doing is hoping for the ultimate top tier level of people to start getting to work on finding sperm banks and seeding the earth. What do you do at a local level?
It would be so strange because obviously the world would be in chaos. So I wouldn't be able to go to work, wouldn't be able to do like anything that I normally do. So like the number one priority would be try and figure out what's going on. Do I have enough food? Do I have enough water? And am I going to be safe?
Yeah. And then, but you're just sitting around waiting for like an answer. Like, you're never going to get it. We don't even have an answer for COVID yet.
No.
I mean, we do, but who knows what to believe? And then imagine the amount of misinformation on that sort of level.
I'd probably travel to Canberra then.
Travel to Canberra?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's where the politicians are. So that's the people that's ruling the country, right? So obviously...
You want to follow the female politicians down there?
Well, to figure out what's going on, like, what else am I going to do? I don't have you anymore.
So then...
I won't have Archie anymore. I'll be so sad. I'll be by myself. So I'm like...
So let's say you travel down to Canberra and then you like, what are you going to do? At that stage, all you can do is rely... You got food, water and shelter. The next thing you're going to seek out is a sense of community, right?
Yeah, sense of purpose.
Other women in a like-minded situation, create some sort of group, probably at some point become a bit fanatic about it and, you start going to protest, start burning buildings, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to become a fanatic.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, at what point do you just go, this is, like, far too much to, like, for me to, like, just sit at home and grow my tomatoes? Deal with. Like, we need some law and order.
Well, it just depends, I guess, where I am in my life. Are we, 20?
80.
Yeah, 20. Oh, then we'll have our self-sustaining farm and stuff by then, and I'll just be a little old lady and I'll just be knitting the whole time. So
good point. So that's what you got to work towards.
Self-sustaining, post-apocalyptic, prepper.
Bunker garden.
Prepper style bunker garden.
I mean,
whole greenhouse?
Not the word.
Greenhouse underground.
Underground greenhouse.
Underground greenhouse.
That sounds better than Look Mum Book Club.
Look Mum Book Club?
Yeah.
No, it's Look Mum I'm Reading. That's Look Mum Book Club just sounds
Look Mum I'm Reading is like basically saying like this is not a fan. Moving on.
But Look Mum I'm Hustling. Look Mum I'm Reading. Look Mum I'm not liking this name.
Look Mum, all the men are dead.
Oh no. That would be something you would probably say to your mum. Look, Mum, all the men are dead. Well, I would. You wouldn't, because unless if you're like Yorick, what would you do if you were Yorick?
What would I do with that cheeky monkey, which is cheekier than Archie?
Oh no, just say all right. So swap out the monkey for Archie. So it's you and Archie left.
Okay, are we gonna in terms of the actual world, like the characters that are already in the Why the Last Man world, or just me as the last dude alive?
You as like the last dude alive. So like in my scenario,
not necessarily my mother's now the president.
No, not necessarily that. And we'll just in this case scenario pretend that Archie is like one of those amazing movie dogs and does everything you say to do. Keep quiet, sit, all that kind of stuff. So he's like a well-behaved.
You have to assume, unless you're the most narcissistic person alive, that there'd be other men alive. You wouldn't assume you're the last one. Maybe after like 12 months, you would realize. But the only way you'd realize is by coming into contact with dozens and dozens and dozens of females over that time to then realize where are the men. And then they would be like, we haven't seen any men either.
Yeah.
But at that stage, if you've been exposed to that many females, then you're pretty vulnerable and you're already out there anyway. So it's like, would you know or would you not know? Because if you knew, that means you have to be in contact with females, which just puts you as a target. So it's hard to say what you'd do. I'd probably just be in hiding, raiding supermarkets for food and stuff.
Just like pure survival mode?
Yeah. It'd just be zombie mode. Yeah,
well, that's the thing, like, depending on, like, what your purpose is. Obviously, Yorick, his purpose is to find his girlfriend, Beth. Like, that's why he's going out and about and stuff like that. I would either be here with you or I would be gone. We'll just pretend I've been, like, I don't know, killed by raiders or something like that. And you've gone...
Tuscan Raiders?
Pardon?
Tuscan Raiders?
Sure, Tuscan Raiders. Yeah. And then, you're off in pure survival mode. But, I could imagine you would probably try to avoid everyone and then just try and find, like, a good hideout just to survive 100%. And do your own thing.
do my own
you
thing.
wouldn't go looking out for other men, I don't think. Or maybe after like 3 years, you'd be like,
I wouldn't
all right.
go looking for them. I'd be just trying to survive. But if I would team up with some dudes. But that's what's cool about this story. And like like Walking Dead, kind of cool. Zombies. This is a whole different story, which is essentially like you're hiding from zombies if you're Yorick, sorry.
Yeah.
But there's way more interesting things to like discover and like dig into the story as opposed to just hiding and killing zombies.
100%, because like with zombies, they don't have brains. They're like usually dumb as, and they're like purely survival. But like with Y: The Last Man, you're not dealing with zombies. You're dealing with like intelligent human beings who think and all that kind of stuff. And you have these human beings, these females that are now dealing with the after effects of a patriarchal society. And then they're figuring out, do there rules? Does this still work for us? Do we create our own path? Do we make our own society? Like, you'll have all these questions, be like, do we just follow suit with like and it's based in America. So, do they follow suit with like what the founding fathers wanted, fathers, or do they create, their own founding mothers, constitution?
Would you be a founding mother?
Yeah, I could be a founding.
What age do you have to be a founding mother?
You need a little bit more wisdom under your belt. So
you're pretty wise.
Sometimes not super wise. I'm pretty.
But if you're in your bunker 80 with a garden, you could be a founding mother.
I think so. I'd be a little bit more wise by then. I'd be able to give some good advice or, tell you how to run your country. No, don't listen to me.
So where do we think this story is going? Like, should we sit here and like even discuss like what we think is going to happen, or just let it play out and just do a follow-up episode after the fact?
We've watched 3 episodes so far.
We should look at other shows or movies or accounts of all men dying. Like there is that comedy show, The Last Man
Standing.
I think that's that's like a.
It's like a dark comedy.
There's a stand-up series, like a stand-up comic series where they do like battles and stuff. I think that's called Last Man Standing. There's another one where it's called, I think might be Last Man Standing.
Yeah, it's the dude from SNL, isn't it?
Think so.
Yeah. Can't remember. I think it's called Last Man Standing or Last Man Alive or something like that. It was like a HBO series, right? Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Again, one of those things we only watch 2 episodes of, but maybe we should catch up and then discuss.
Yeah, the differences, because there's so many post-apocalyptic style movies out there. So whether it's a sci-fi Hunger Games style post-apocalyptic, or you've got, something as simple, not simple, but like The Matrix is a post-apocalyptic film if you think about it, because it's set in the future.
What would be an all-female Matrix be like?
Badass.
Would it?
Yeah, with kung fu, all that kind of stuff.
Who would you replace for Keanu Reeves?
That's a tough one, man.
And who would you replace with
Morpheus?
Yeah.
Judi Dench.
Okay.
Maybe.
Bald head.
Sure, whatever. She has like a short hairstyle.
Keanu has to have like black slick back hair. Or black hair at the very least.
I don't know.
Charlize Theron with a black dude. Pretty badass. I think she should pull it off.
Like Mad Max style. She was hectic in that. Like with the one arm. Mad Max, another post-apocalyptic style movie.
We love our sci-fi stuff.
We do. We really enjoy it. And that's like, because they ran out of water. Everything's like in the desert, all that kind of stuff. And water is like currency.
It's almost like running out of sperm.
Yeah. It's like, does sperm become currency?
Not quite as viscous though.
Like, it's just crazy how like people come up with these ideas for these types of films, and it's like trying to think up a whole new society structure. Like, what is it going to be like? Are people just going to be... Are they going to absolutely lose it and become animals and every man for themselves? Or has it become, this whole big event brings everybody together? It becomes like a utopian style, like, one of those weird sort of Star Trek episodes where, they travel to this weird sort of like a planet and everyone's like in togas and they're all lovely and all that kind of stuff. And like, we've become a better society because I know we had a war or something.
I'm not sure if they explore this too much in the book, but I just thought of it then. If all the male animals die, or mammals as well, there's a big environmental impact as well. Like the entire food chain
would collapse
because depending on what species it is, some have different like caretaker roles and hunting roles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the entire food chain, you don't have the males to support, well, first of all, to breed, but then to protect and hunt, all that sort of thing.
But yeah, something as simple as...
like little things like squirrels that get nuts off trees. If there's too many nuts on the ground, then the tree dies because there's no water getting there. Like there's so many implications onto like plants as well.
100%. Well, you have like, birds that go, birds, mammals? Yeah, birds. So you go like birds. Yeah.
Males.
Mammals.
No.
Aren't birds mammals?
Birds.
Oh, birds,
They got wings. They're descended from dinosaurs.
Yeah, but like what animal group are they from? Are they like
the birds?
Okay. No, it's like because I thought that's see, guys, don't listen to me. I come up with like dumb stuff. I don't know. I thought if the male birds
mammals give birth, right? Like
They don't have eggs.
With eggs?
Yeah, and marsupials have pouches. Okay. I remember science.
It's like you've missed your year 3 lessons.
I forgot about the egg,
what about
the pouch.
How do yowies give birth?
Yowies?
Yeah.
Yowies are a mammal, right? I think they confirmed that yowie was like a mammal for all us Aussies. Real, to
be honest. Anyway, moving on. Birds are not mammals.
Okay, so I was going to use that as an example because you know how their dropping would then help, new plants grow and all that kind of thing. The same would be like, deers, any like herbivore style
little
animal.
Seeds and drop them and then the fertilizer lets them spread up, all that.
Yeah, so it would have this huge layer effect on the whole entire ecosystem, which would be full on. So then there'll be not only like you'd have issues like water, electricity, all that kind of stuff. You're going to have a food shortage soon. Everyone will be relying on them GMOs and, lab designed or lab generated stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Cloning.
Cloning what?
Well, it would be, because you know how people like clone food and stuff.
Well, you want to clone more females.
No, I was going to say like clone Yorick.
Nah, you can't clone him.
No. Okay.
It's the same genes. First of all, you'd hope you wouldn't consent to that or you wouldn't be forced to get cloned. I don't really see a purpose of cloning the last man if it's just going to be a replica of the last man.
Well, I guess it comes down to like, can they alter like DNA and stuff to change it for like different aspects? Is that possible? Hello Science, are you there yet? I don't
think they're quite there yet. And they'll knock back in 2045.
Yeah, it'd be like, knock, knock, knock. We've done the geno editing. Is that what it's geno editing?
Geno's an Italian mobster. A genome is the way you gene sequence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, like sorry, genome. Gattaca. You know the movie Gattaca?
Yeah.
How they were editing like the baby embryos to make them like superior humans, and then the dude couldn't because he had like a bad heart.
That's what I'm saying. If the sperm becomes like a highly valued commodity, and let's say at that point, like if a male and a female in the birds and the bees story, if they have a little shindig, a little night together, you can't really control the way the child's going to grow and the way the genes are expressed for different traits, blue eyes, blonde hair, etc. You'd have to assume you'd be able to pick and choose your sperm donor, right? So then, therefore, people are going to cater to their needs. They're not just going to like get a random one. They're going to be like, let me get something that lines up with mine. So it'll be a more gender. What point am I trying to make?
Well, like what I'm getting out of that. So I guess with these sperm banks being a commodity, the women that can afford it, so obviously the rich top tier women be able to cherry pick the sperm that they want.
So they can basically influence the next race in terms of the traits.
Yeah,
If they're all white or if they're mixed or whatever.
And because you're in like a post-apocalyptic sort of environment, those poorer women that don't have a lot of money, they won't be able to cherry pick. Everybody would be like, all right, everyone needs to have a kid to save, the planet, all that kind of stuff. And imagine not being able to pick who you get and then just being completely surprised. Yeah.
It's like just being forced to take any COVID vaccine.
Like would that and would that how it would go? Like maybe these women won't even have a choice. You'll be forced to have a child for the sake of humanity. Like will your choices be taken away?
Yeah.
Like reverse handmaiden style.
You reverse handmaiden. What if you got locked up because you got an abortion?
Oh, like that would be against the law.
You weren't doing your deed for the greater good. There's a lot of parallels with the COVID situation.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's like, it's the whole like choice thing. Do women get a choice? Because there'll be some women out there that were never planning on having children, or it's just not something they're interested in, or maybe they're too focused on being part of a militia that wants to take over the government, Like it's so interesting, like, but again, that's a very, and not in a bad way, that's a very like male dominated sort of thinking process to like force women, all that kind of stuff. So would a woman run society think differently?
Yeah, I would imagine there'd be so many different groups. And I think from memory from the comic, there's a lot of like different militia groups that have their different motives and intentions.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rivalry to get your point of view across and the way you want the world to now be. There's a lot of push from different groups.
Of course. There'll be different people with different ideals.
A lot of protests. And especially if there's no real governance and there's no real order of society, then there's going to be even more of that. Like right now, there's a few protests for like COVID and stuff, but everyone's like pretty like, everything's pretty civil in a world where like all the men die. It's not a really civilized world. Everyone's going to be going pretty crazy for a while and no one's going to be in agreement about how to proceed.
Exactly. And I guess especially with the women that were left over that are now in power, they weren't voted in power. Like it was, the president or the prime minister, they were the person that, the population voted to like lead them. So now they have someone they didn't choose leading them as well.
Well, so many things to think about. And I think we'll do a recap in 2 or 3 months' time. Like
we literally only just watched 3 episodes and with the comic books, like maybe 5 of them. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
And wait for these other episodes to come out. If you're listening here in Australia, it's on Binge, right?
Yes, it's on
Probably
Binge.
Get a 30-day trial or something. First 3 episodes are out, and then I believe weekly. So I'm guessing probably another 7 or 8 weeks at minimum.
So it'll be a while until we do our follow-up episode.
But until then, check it out. Check the comic books out. I think it's an interesting story.
It's a really interesting concept. Super interesting.
Yep. And the TV show's pretty good as well. Can't complain. So I think we'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Look Mum, I'm Hustling.
That's us. That's us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. If you want to see the video version, we're over on YouTube as well. You can get the recording on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
All right, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. See ya.